Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depends upon when you're listening. And welcome to The Solution. Nothing changes if we change nothing. I'm Ronni Katz, and I'm the director of the New York City Prevention Resource Center. And here's my cohort in crime.
I'm Chevar, and I'm also part of the New York City Prevention Resource Center, and I operate as a community development specialist here in New York City. And you notice the backgrounds. If you have the visual, you see the train, the three train to be exact. Look at that in the background, and you may even hear some noises of the wonderful city that we call New York. But Riley, how's it going? The heat is on. Remember that song?
You know how I am in the heat. I know a lot of you are enjoying this weather, but to me, this is miserable, this heat. My poor dogs, I can't keep them out there for more than a couple of minutes, but as we speak, we're awaiting the delivery of a splash pad for our dogs. And you know what? It's not just going to be for the dogs.
Listen, have fun, live. Like I say this every other podcast, live your life, have fun, enjoy. Listen, if you want to splash, I say splash.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about it before I was outside. It is steamy out there today.
Oh, it is if you were a potato, you would be nice and
Exactly. Or I don't think it's quite frying an egg on the sidewalk.
I hope not.
Yeah. But it's hot. It is hot. It just I can only imagine too, because I'm on Long Island right now. We do the podcast when the city gets so hot.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned something about the splash pad. I mean, I know growing up, one of my favorite summer pastimes were the water balloon fights, the water pistol fights. That's the part of growing up in the city. Growing up as a child, period. I'm pretty sure they did it in other neighborhoods and other, whether it's the suburbs, what have you. But I know in the city, it's one of the things you're allowed to be a child when you're doing that. Like even when the adults are participating, they're allowed to have fun. So I miss those days. I miss those activities, and I know we talked about this in the past, and I actually mentioned this in one of the meetings probably a year or two ago. Having youth reclaim the summer, having youth reclaim the streets. Like me being a youth from the city, that's what we did. We were in charge of the streets, and we were in charge of the things that happened. And we did kid things. We went to the pool. We played basketball. We played kickball. We played flag football. Not flag football. Two-hand touch. Played two-hand touch. Flag football is more of a newer thing. But we had fun as a team. Like that's why I love the summer so much. It is so nostalgic for me. And so that's the other reason, other than like I'm not a big Cole fan, but I love the nostalgia of my childhood of playing in the outside in the streets with my friends. That as an adult, we don't do those things, and I don't even see those things anymore. And today's episode is a continuation of a podcast we've been doing. The first 2 episodes we did like a month and a half ago about Tranq and what is the summer like for people who are users. Do they have what does that look like? How does that affect them? And what supports they need? How do we move forward? What does the summer look like? Like that's the question I want to ask. Like, what does the summer look like for a user? Or what does the use go up? Is it more social? I have questions.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. I mean, I think people tend to be outside more,
right,
engaging each other more.
Right.
Warmer months too. I know that when we used to be on 125th Street, people would be selling, seafood right in front of our office, down the block on a table, and it like all of a sudden Harlem opens up and it becomes, a giant street fair.
Absolutely.
And I love the vibe in Harlem in the summer. That I do miss being on 125th when we had that. But yeah, and when did that childhood end for them? I mean, I remember doing crazy things, 20s, 30s, in the summer. I remember as a kid when you were just talking about it, I had this image of the sprinklers at the park. Mm-hmm. Every schoolyard had sprinklers, and you could go to the schoolyard and you just run through the sprinklers or get a hose and have water fights. I do miss those times because I grew up in Queens. And I went to camp. I used to go to a camp. We would travel an hour a day each way, 2 hours to go out to a campground in Long Island. I went to the Jewish Federation camps. It was the Henry Kaufman campgrounds. And it was worth it. We'd get out there. We'd leave at the crack of dawn. I won't use the term that my wife always uses, but it's another body part of dawn. But or just you add a word to crack. And we would get out to camp like early enough to where it was still cool, and we'd spend the day out there learning all kinds of camping skills in the woods. And then we'd come home in the afternoon and be really sweaty and disgusting, but we'd had an incredible day out on Long Island, which seemed like far away in the country, you know. So, yeah, we were pretty innocent then.
Yeah. And the funny that you mentioned that, I was in a meeting earlier today, and we were talking about like where we grew up in the inner city, like a lot of us. Well, some people might be listening or watching, some people haven't. But we grew up with friends, and we had at that moment similar trajectories, but something put us on different paths. That we met a fork, and someone went left and someone went right. And like, I grew up with friends who said to me, like Var, that's a child name, like, dude, like, how did you, like, we were all outside as teens, 2:00 in the morning, we were doing a lot of these things. How did you end up on this path? And then they come to me and they ask me, like, how, like, what did you do differently? Like, in my mind, like, I just didn't, it was just something I didn't want to do anymore. I wanted to remain a child. I wanted to remain innocent and having fun. And when you go into a different path, you're exposed to different things. Mm-hmm. You're exposed to a more of an adult lifestyle, or what's considered an adult. Let me rephrase that. A more mature, because we have adults who still have children.
I have those moments.
and I wasn't, and I think I probably wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready. I just wanted to be a teenager. I still wrote graffiti. I still did the things that teenagers do. I still, didn't always listen to my mom, but I didn't do the other things that a lot of my friends, ended up, whether, incarcerated or unfortunately passed away or on drugs, what have you. But I still give those people grace, those friends grace. I still show them love, and they know me. I go to the hood, and all of them, they know me. It's like a celebration because I'm hugging everybody. Like, I give you grace, and you whatever decision that you made in your life, it happened, and how do we move forward from it? You're still my childhood friend. That's what I still see.
Yeah. And when you said that, when I first got into recovery in Nashville, Tennessee, I remember there was this guy who used to always share, and he'd always say, I may have made mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
Absolutely.
And I carried that with me because it's so easy to be hard on yourself when you make mistakes, but that meant something to me. Just because people run into different paths in life, and maybe it's not the path that has benefited them the most, doesn't mean they can't, change the path at a later point. And it doesn't matter how late. I never lose hope with people.
I agree with you. Like, and I speak to those friends, I tell them you have the power. I'm here to help. And if you don't need my help, I'm cool with that too. It's your decision to make in your life to grow and to become whatever person you want, and how do we learn from each other? And part of it is sometimes having people who are influential in your life. And maybe that's what happened to them when they were growing up. Whatever influences that were going on influenced them to go onto a different path that maybe they were robbed of their innocence. I don't know. And some people, it's hard for them to share those stories. There's trauma involved. There's pain involved. That you have to acknowledge the people who hurt you, that you love. And maybe that was just their decision. Those things, because sometimes there's no trauma. There's nothing bad. I know people who grew up with two parent homes. And the parents were college graduates, had great jobs, lived in brownstones, and they went in a different direction. So it's a decision that was made.
Yeah. I mean, and usually it's not one, thing. It's usually multiple variables, and just sometimes we don't think these things can happen to us, and they do.
And Ronnie, guess what? You know what happened, right?
What's that?
Like, I didn't make you a co-host. I make you a co-host, but the guests have arrived. Let me make you a co-host.
Well, I didn't even know. I didn't hear that doorbell.
That is my fault. I'm embarrassed.
Everyone, you saw what happened.
Please send the letters to Chevar Xylazine, NYC or Ronni K. And I'm sorry, RKatz. I'm so sorry, I have the old way email.
You have you've been there a lot longer. Although I feel like I've been there forever now too. 9 years. Anyway,
she left the name?
Yes. Let's let them in. That's right.
Good.
So we're just awaiting our guests. You know, when one of us is talking, there's always going to be a knock at the door. And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
and we're seeing our guests arrive. We'll let them take a moment just to get situated. And then once they're situated and their cameras come on, and they get connected, we'll ask them to introduce themselves.
Absolutely. But while they're there, we could keep talking.
I was just going to say that. It's funny because the other thing, too, I had a recent memory of when I was at a concert at Central Park. We used to go to concerts literally. I mean, I've been around a long time. Those concerts would be $1 or $2. Okay. And then they went up to $2 and $4, and we were really annoyed. Wow, and they raised the prices. And I remember coming back from the concerts, and it started to pour, and we were walking out of Central Park and down one of the main streets, and we all took our shoes off and just walked in the pouring rain. And now we're going to have a lesson on how to put on makeup.
You might want to unmute yourself. I believe you probably said something amazing, Evelyn. If you want to unmute yourself, you can go for it.
You know, like a movie, makeup. So I was like, how are you folks doing today?
We're doing well, thank you. We're going to ask you to introduce yourselves and tell our viewers and our listeners who you are and what you do. So who'd like to go first? Okay, go Evelyn.
Good afternoon, my people. My name is Evelyn Morales. I am a CARC, a certified addiction recovery coach, as well as a certified recovery peer advocate. I work at Samaritan Daytop Village, Harlem outpatient program. I absolutely love what I do, helping people help themselves. That's what I got.
Thank you so much. Troy, you're up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Troy Boze, and I work for the Education Alliance as a recovery service coordinator, certified recovery peer advocate. I'm in the field of helping people also. I've been doing this for over 7 years now. And welcome to the podcast.
Well, we're very glad that you both came. We've been talking about this for actually quite a while, and Troy's been on our podcast before. And we're really glad that you can come back and join us again. And Evelyn, we're happy to welcome you today. And this is a continuing series. This is our third part of our podcast about, Tranq or Xylazine. And this round we talked about a few weeks ago, and we wanted to hear from each of you. You talked about the fight. You talked about being out in the street, because we kept hearing the term boots on the ground a lot with our previous guests. So we wanted to give you a chance to talk about it and tell us, what does that fight look like? What do you experience? What do you see? What are the trends? What are the victories? Just, whatever comes to mind, because we want to hear from you without giving you too much to limit you today. So please jump on in.
Okay, if I may, I'd like to start with doing outreach work in the streets in Tompkins Square Park, Washington Square Park, and over at the Overdose Prevention Center, where one day I walked into that overdose prevention center. Of course, I am a person with lived experience in recovery. This is all new to me. I walk in there, I see them packing stuff up. Okay, my choice of drug was smoking crack. And I see them with stems, with screens, packing it up. I was like this. I could not believe that they are now, which is a good thing. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but they provide needles, they provide stems. I don't think they provide lighter screens so that you could use your substances safely, is what they say. Okay, so let's get back to doing outreach on the streets. You run into people. I ran into people. They had their stem in their hand. They had either just smoked or were getting ready to smoke. And understand, I have 6 years, 3 months, and 29 days in recovery. And so, it's been long enough, but not too long. I am a person that still gets urges. Thank God, I'm in the no matter what club. No matter what, I'm not using. My two butt cheeks could fall on the ground, and I am not using. I'm sorry. I'm getting the bottom.
Troy, do you want to take over while she, okay, she's back, Evelyn.
Sorry, they just came to bring me some pizza. Anyway.
Pizza sounds good.
So, I look at the person. Hi, I'm Evelyn. I'm a peer advocate from Samaritan Day Top Village. I'm here. I'd like to provide this information for you. I want you to know that I was a person in this program and I used to smoke crack. What? Oh my God, you don't even look it. I said, and not only that, I'm also 63 years old. So they're like, okay, so I tell them, look, keep this. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I will be on the other end waiting if and when you get ready to address any issues that you may have. Of course, I'm co-occurring, dually diagnosed. I'm mental health, bipolar, and substance misuse. So, sometimes I was put in situations while out and about of seeing screens of stems loaded white, and I was one of those type of smokers that was everything. So, I would romance that stem, thank God that Evelyn is in the No Matter What Club because I survived. Of course, how did I get through that? It's really important that people have a wellness plan, somewhere, or people that you could approach, have a session, discuss what you're going through. Because a lot of times we're out there helping people, but who's helping us? So you find your avenues of how you could get to the next day without using a drink or drug. And so, this new thing that's out there, Xylazine, oh my God, Tranq, as they call it. Is that right? The fentanyl, thank God that I was never a person that shot up, that used the needle or anything to that effect. But my heart goes out to anybody that has an intravenous drug addiction that is now, getting laced with fentanyl and Tranq. From what I understand, there's no more heroin or cocaine in these substances. They're simply chemicals. So people have fentanyl addictions, have xylazine addictions, and the thing about it is that you don't come back from those xylazine. They can't Narcan you. It just don't work. It doesn't bring you back. So if you overdose from xylazine, bye-bye. That's the end of you. So, it's important that if people are intravenously using drugs to get their drugs into them, that you educate yourself and find out the real truth about xylazine, fentanyl, and how it is that you could live past that. Anyway, I love to talk, so I think I've said quite enough right now. And you know what? If nothing changes, nothing changes. I think I said that. But anyway, yeah, once you come into recovery, if you don't incorporate any change in you, you're a dry drunk, you're a dry addict. And so please change, or if not, you'll be out there asking for change. Thank you for listening. Take it away, Troy.
I just got to say one thing though before we hand it over to Troy. When I first got into recovery, I remember they said, there's one thing you're going to have to change in recovery. I said, what's that? They said, everything. So
everything. I agree with that, Ronni. Everything, And once again, thank you, Evelyn, for sharing your experience from a peer perspective. One of the things that I do as a trainer of peers is I make sure I inform you that a lot of the reason why the community is the way it is through the lack of knowledge. We need to be educating and informing individuals about the trends. If you're been in this business as long as I have as a peer, you begin to learn to follow the trends of the drug use in your community. You know, I remember pre-COVID, it was an opioid epidemic. Everybody was dropping from fentanyl. And then COVID came in, and you come out of COVID, now we have fentanyl as the main opioid on the block. Fentanyl, I took it over from heroin. Let me backtrack. It was a heroin opioid epidemic pre-COVID. And then we come back from COVID, we found out that fentanyl had taken that spot. And now we're finding out now that 80% of the supply that's illicitly being sold on the bricks, we call it the bricks, this is gun level peer talk, is 80% of it is now been cut with xylazine. Now, the reason it makes me think like, why? I mean, fentanyl is not enough for me. I mean, I'm thinking of myself as, like Evelyn said, from lived experience. Well, no, it's not, because I'm always trying to get higher and higher and higher than the high, right? So this xylazine Tranq, as it's called, you gotta remember, it's non-FDA approved. It's an cattle tranquilizer. Some of it's infected some gruesome wounds that come from being injected, and the scientists believe that it messes with the blood circulation. That's why the wounds become so severe. And yes, there is no antidote or what do they call like Narcan or naloxone to combat that. So the xylazine symptoms are similar to that of someone ODing off of an opioid. And yeah, you can with the NARC, you take them out of that opioid high, but you don't take them out of the xylazine high. And the only thing you can do is maybe turn them on the side, make sure they're still breathing, and definitely before all of this, call for help. 911, 911, 911. Let's get some medical people on their way there. And if you're there with them, turn them on this side, make sure that they're breathing. A lot of times, I just had an individual just maybe a couple of weeks ago, I'm rubbing his hand, I'm doing the knuckle thing in his chest. Hey man, you still here? Once you get his name, keep saying his name to him, something of reference that once you keep saying his name, so people came and had a little water to pour on his face to keep him boom until the medics got there to help. Narcan did no help at all, so that was a clear indicator that it had to be something else on top of the whatever he did. And we, like I said, following the trends as a street CRPA, there is no more heroin on the block. It's all fentanyl, and it's all being cut by xylazine. And unfortunately, there's no way we can combat that at this time. As a matter of fact, the only other treatment for that is hemodialysis, where they sort of like doing dialysis, where they clean the blood. That's like maybe about one of the only solutions that I've come up against so far. One of the things that I try to impart on my team is in outreach. As a matter of fact, we were blessed to do a martial arts training a couple of weeks ago at Samaritan Village. They hired a team of professional bodyguards, security cats come out to show us some techniques on how to, first of all, maybe keep people away from you, number one, because you don't want to defend and then retaliate. You want to just defend just to get away or just to kind of deter the person to let them do it. Because you got to remember, I've come across many, many instances where people are shooting up right there, and you have to mentor on, hey, before you do that, we go through a quick Narcan training. You try, here's some fentanyl strips, here's some xylazine strips to test your product. Let's test this product. And I'll stand away, let's test it together. Let's see what's going on here. Even though they say, okay, it's positive with that, that's probably not going to deter them from using it because they're going to spend $200 or $300. So we meet them where they're at. We'll say, I'll tell you what, you go first and wait a minute to see how this person reacts. And when you do that, could you just do a little, just to see how you react to that? And if you see this person go into some sort of situation, we just did the Narcan training, and you can help them out, right? Right? How's that sound to you guys? You always want to be, motivational with people, because we don't tell people not to use or to use or whatever. That's not our role. Our role is just to be there, be instrumental. If we can bridge them to some care, we do that, because the choice is ultimately theirs. But we want to say, hey, here's some options. We have harm reduction. We have methadone maintenance now, Suboxone. These are accepted forms of recovery. And you have me, if you choose. I'll walk with you for the rest of our life. For one of us drop dead, I'll be there. Here's my number. Call me up, man. Matter of fact, where you going to be at when you leave here? Or if I don't see you again, I know you don't got a phone. What park will you be at next? Or what bridge will you be at? This is real talk. I engage a lot of homeless folk, who are nomads, and they roaming. Hey, where are you going to be at tomorrow? Where are you going to be at the next day? Kind of thing. So it's all about meeting people where they're at, guys, in this field. And you got to develop some Teflon, man. I've been doing this long enough where I've witnessed over, I think, close to a little over 20 deaths of people who I engaged personally, and you get a call, or you come into work today and you say, did you know such and such passed on, or whatever, and you don't want to get what we call compassion fatigue. It's where you hear it so much, man, you're exposed to it so much on the ground, man, that it's just oh well. No, I have feelings, and I just was talking to this guy, or I was just talking to this female, or I knew this person's family as a peer. I've been over their house. We went to McDonald's together. We, blah, blah, blah. It's that peer. And for that to happen, I have created a platform where peers can come in every Wednesday, especially those of us that we're under a CASN network grant, where we are doing this outreach work, peer work, and they can come in on Wednesdays and we talk about our experiences and how we feel. Process these feelings, guys. What we see out there is real. We're seeing life in its fullest. We're seeing it go in its fullest. We're seeing the effects of trauma on folk these days with, economics.
Right, I'm gonna interrupt you really quickly if you don't mind.
Yes, sure.
No, it's okay, because I want both of you to dive deeper into what you're saying, because it's part of the question that Ronni initially asked, is about the trends. Like, what are the trends like for that you might have come across or heard of the Tranq Xylazine use? Is it more youth? Is it a party drug? Like, what are the trends that people can look out for, or people should be aware of, that people aren't currently noticing? It's like, people, like you're saying, that we're all humans, we're people, we need support. But what is, like, for a family member who does have someone who is a user, and they may not know that this is the next level, how do they support, and what should they look for?
Okay, if I may intervene, xylazine, which causes severe, horrific skin lesions and rotting flesh. So that's the first thing that you should look out for, is those symptoms. 20% of all deaths citywide, depending on the neighborhood you're in. They say that the Bronx has the highest rate of xylazine use. They're thinking about passing and combating illicit xylazine, which will be placed under the controlled substance category. Could you imagine that? That thing's just been around for half a minute. Tranq, which is what they call it as well, xylazine, quotes, Tranq, isn't just mixed into hard drugs in powder form. The potent muscle relaxer is also pressed into pills, sold online, including social media. So, it's amazing how this controlled substance, as they're trying to call it or place it, is having such a big effect on people that are intravenous drug users. Your skin is rotting from the inside out. So that's, of course, if the person is shooting up in areas where it's not visible, you'll never know. But the person is the person that's using and has these effects is killing themselves softly.
Thank you. Troy, please share your thoughts. We want to know the trends, what people are seeing outside. I'm sorry.
I wanted to comment on two of the aspects that you mentioned, Chevar and Ronni, about usage. Let's go to usage first, the trends in usage. My observation is this and this is my own. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a learned. I'm going by lived experience. I call it generational usage. Okay, young folk get hold of the opioid and xylazine. They're more apt to smoke it in a blunt, weed. They're more apt to do that. Then you have and I'm talking about from 18, 25, 30 maybe. But then you have the OGs, I call them. Those in my career, the 35 and up. We're intravenous users, from back in the day, we're the sniffers, and so we're more likely to use it intravenously, sniff it, that's our generation, or we ain't wasting it in no smoke. We ain't trying to do all that. And also, when I say generational usage, you got to remember, our youth have their own language now on how they call it the emoji language. There's certain emojis they put on the thing. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you don't know what he's saying, meet me such and such, and I got this, that, in an emoji. You hear me? So when you talk, and I wanted to put that in there because when you talked about what can the family do, right, to be an intercessor or intervention in there, learn what your children are talking about. It ain't all about like marijuana's legal. Oh, he just smokes a little. How do you know that if you don't ask? And when we talk about meeting people where they're at, we're asking parents to do the same. Meet your kids where they're at. Let them know that. And listen, back in the day, youngin', you know what I'm saying? We used to have yellow bags, blah, blah, blah. Let them know that, hey, mom and dad might have been in that kind of thing. It's nowhere near where it's at now, but the results are the same. The traumas are the same. The feeling is the same. It's just that now we have more deadlier chemicals on the market. But the whole trend is still the same. But what happens is what I'm saying, seeing now, is that nobody's trying to get high anymore. They're trying to get dead and come back to life. I'm dead serious. Because I remember back in the day, and I'm going on some real deep lived experience here. Back in my day, it was like, who could get the highest without passing out? Who could get the drunkest without passing out? I'm the bad, I just drunk you under the table. Well, it's the same kind of thing going on now, except that the drugs are deadlier. You understand? And if people aren't informed enough of the dangers of what they're getting into, this is where we get into the problem. We have a whole city in Philadelphia, Kensington, that's just a zombie land. And I can go with the circle part, the certified recovery peer advocacy part. I can put my advocacy role hat on and say, well, what is the government doing instead of just walking by and allowing this state to happen like that? Should there be something in place where people have to get mandatory treatment kind of thing or something? I don't know. Just something on my purview. But what I'm saying is that we sit back and we report out on these things, but really, what are we doing, to combat this? Yes, harm reduction to me, and this is maybe my own bias, harm reduction to a certain extent, right? Like when Evelyn shared about packing crack pipes to hand out, questionable, I could see with the needle exchange, on the safe injection sites. But when we're talking about like that component, I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't even let you in detox no more for smoking crack or smoking marijuana. You can't even get into detox. But alcohol, opioids, Yeah. But for that, man, and like I said, getting back to the stuff these young people are smoking, hey, they're finding xylazine and cocaine now. Okay? So, trend-wise, listen, man, it's generational. Like I said, it's just today, to me, since the opening up of marijuana being legal, everybody thinks everything else is legal too. And they just going for broke, And the danger with that is that through lack of knowledge of what you're getting yourself into, because I remember in my early recovery, they say, let's pray for the kids who are getting into something they don't not what they're getting themselves into. Well, we got a whole generation of community out there just like that. Just like that. Lack of information, not enough people on the ground out and about in my purview. It takes a village, man. It takes a village of peers, a village of just treatment folk to get out there on the ground. It's no more behind the desk schedule appointment kind of thing. You need to be on the ground. This is my preview.
This next question I have, it's also a part of what Ronni was asking, and it was a contradiction to almost everything we're saying, but it's not also a contradiction because something that you guys said is like, are there any victories? What they are, or could there be any victories? Like how can we move into a direction of support or to build on the humanity of the individual who are users? Because again, we don't want to tear anybody down. People have whatever addictions or whatever trauma that's going on, and then that's who they are. But how do we help them? Like what are, if you guys can think of, I want you to think, take a moment while I'm talking, and whatever comes out of your brain, and what can be a solution? What can be a victory? Or if you come across a victory of someone who might have, to your point, Troy, gone over the edge and passed away and came back and said, you know what, this ain't for me. I don't want to, like, are there any victories? Can you guys touch on that really quickly?
The victory is when I break through the ambivalence from shared experience, from disclosure of, dude, I get it. I identify. See, a lot of peers get these credentials, man, they forget that you have some identification there somewhere. That's where you dig down and find the support. And once you break through the ambivalence and you can get the person into a process and you walk with them all the way to a process where, guess what? A few of the people that I walk through the process with now work here. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You made a very good point, Troy.
They come from robbing rats. I just to share, this is a funny story. Like I woke up one day in the subway and I saw a rat taking a slice of pizza up the stairs. And people was running from the rat. I was so hungry, I went and mugged them. I mugged the rat for that slice of pizza. So when you get a person that mugged rats from a slice of pizza into a process of wellness and recovery, and you walk with them and let them know I understand and I'm just a little further in my process. This just lets me get in meetings you can't get in. But I'm you. I am you. This is what it looks like when I allow some people in my space, man. Because addiction is antisocial, right? It's hard to detect and it's hard to treat. But a peer knows that. And I got to get through that ambivalence and like, not what's wrong with you, but what happened? If I ask you what happened to you, then you might want to say, well, this is what happened. And then maybe we can get to the nitty gritty of why we do what we do. And you notice I said we, because I'm never saying what you did. I'm saying what we do.
If I could piggyback on what you're saying, talking about we and us, right? I mean, when I make the introduction to peers, I let them know. I have in my office my completion of Samaritan Daytop Village residential, also my completion from this program, Samaritan Daytop Village Harlem Outpatient Program. I also have my certificate from the Fortune Society, letting you know that I'm a convicted felon, So when they sit down and I tell them, my name is Evelyn Morales, I'm the peer in this program. Why am I introducing myself to you? Because I sat in that seat where you sat, So I have lived experience, and here I am today. Staff, to let you know anything is possible that you set your mind out to do. The craziest thing, I just want to touch on this, is that today the gummy marijuanas, the gummy xylazines, the candies that, I mean, are they targeting kids? You know, what is going on? People are dying. They're coming out with xylazine and candy and all this kind of marijuana gummies. Yeah, go ahead, take over.
Comment you on that is this. We have to realize that the way society is a given. I'm not going to change nothing. Ain't nothing changing. Troy ain't going to be resolving nothing. It's how I live within it, how I respond to it, and what kind of impact I can have on who is receptive to whatever it is I have to offer. Because today's world is the way it is. There's a given that they're doing CBD, these gummies, smoke. There's more smoke shops than liquor stores now. I remember the trend. You want to talk about trend? I remember going down the block, there was a liquor store every other block. Now it's a smoke shop every next door to each other. Smoke shops, right? So we look at the way society is built, and it's the way it is, right? How do I live within that? How do I support the people who ask for it or who are receptive to it within that? So we got to remember, man, it's not like what's going on around me. It's how I respond to it, right? And it's how I protect what's in my circle or what's allowed in my circle. How I protect those folks. How information, let them awareness. Evelyn, you just demonstrated awareness. Gummy bears. Now look, I've done outreach in Washington Square Park where they got cereal now that is infused, CBD cereal. Those college kids come down and want to get my breakfast, and it's Fruit of Loops, but it's special Fruit of Loops. It's special cookies. It's special gummies.
That's the whole thing too. And I'm listening to all you're saying. It's easy to get to the point where somebody might say, I just can't handle this anymore. This is, society has changed so much, values have changed so much, but you still go out there day in and day out. From the man who mugged, Pizza Rat. I'm always gonna know you like that. And Evelyn, you've been through your own series of traumas and demons. I mean, both of you have been through so much. What makes you keep going? How do you keep the hope alive? And I'm going to ask each to do it in 2 minutes or less because we're getting to it. We're going to have to wrap up in a little while. But, we want to end this on a positive note. What keeps you going?
Okay, so if I may, what keeps me going? Life. Loving what I do and seeing the caterpillars transform into butterflies. Oh my God. Just lately, from directing someone to taking the recovery coach training to me sending them out, sending their resume and their CRPA and them getting a job, getting $40,000 a year on their CRPA. It is like so unbelievable when individuals that I serve win, I win. And I'm high energy. I'm a lover of life. I love life. And so, people, they know when they see me, I'm like, come on, bring it in. I think that part of the solution is, for people that are having that have substance misuse problems, is aside from some treatment and, on the other end, but some love and to get an employment where they're not discriminated. You'll see how many success stories we have in the world. And you know what? As long as I am breathing, I will be out there trying to help somebody get their life right, like I did. Take it over, Troy.
Yeah. When you ask the question, what keeps me going, I don't overthink that. I don't know. Right? I know this though, that this incurable disease that I have is threefold. It's physical, mental, and spiritual. The physical part I dealt with when I did detox 7 years ago. The mental part is when I did some long term and I stayed connected and I did some outpatient and I allowed some people in my space. I learned to let people be who they are. I learned who I am. I learned what I like and I don't like. And then the spiritual part came when I allowed myself to step out of the way, stay out of the way. And whatever it is that was going on right, I allowed it to stay right. I didn't put my 2 cents in nothing. If it ain't broke, don't go fix it. I stopped fixing things that ain't broke. If I'm working in my process with an A or whatever I'm doing, I'm still doing it, right? I don't change. I don't switch up. It's been working this way with me for 7 years. I continue with the work that way. And for nothing, I just pass on the information to someone who's receptive and willing to listen and understand that, hey, I'm not going to say if I can do it, you can do it. That's baloney. We're built different. But after I share with you my struggle, does this look doable? Does it look doable to you at 60? Does it look doable? Right? So the spiritual component is where we tap into today's recovery. We're doing the right thing for the right reasons, right things continue to happen. As soon as I have an agenda, my agenda is twisted. Come on. There's something destructive about my personality that cries out for failure. I know that about me. So if I know that, I have no agenda when things are going right. And if you're doing the right thing for the right reason, especially when nobody's looking, right things will keep on happening. I don't know why I keep doing it. I just know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't question it.
If I may make my closing comment, right? And the biggest thrill that I get from what I do, particularly on the outreach end, is when I'm out there putting myself, my recovery, and my life in jeopardy, right? And I'm at work and somebody comes through the door and says, I'm looking for Miss Evelyn. And they give me my card, my outreach card. Oh my God, I feel like Wonder Woman. Like, wow, they heard me. Because, you got to figure out of 100 people, maybe 5 may hear you. Or they'll say they're coming and they never come. But when they walk through that door, I survived. I got somebody in. I may be able to help save somebody's life, because that's what it's about. Saving lives, because drugs kill. Anyway, on that note, you don't get it. I hug them all over. I hug them. I don't care if they smell, whatever. I could go home and take a bath, to get the smell off me. But, love and discrimination is mostly what people with a drug addiction need. It helps them move along. And if I take a chance with my life, and they come in to just say, Miss Evelyn, I won. Mission accomplished.
Love wins. Love conquers all. That's what my mom used to say. Not all, look, realistically, but when people are being loved, they're being listened to, they're being respected, they have a much better chance of self-love and self-respect. So a lot of powerful stuff today. We start to end and think, we could keep going for a while, so we'll have to have you both back. But thank you both so much for joining us today. You feel like we just, kind of hit the surface on this. There's so much more to talk about, and we will. But thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing and being honest.
Thank you for having us, and know that was only a drop in the bucket. We had a lot more things to talk about.
All right.
Love to you all.
Chevar and Ronni, thank you for this platform. This is
absolutely
excellent. I hope that people are watching this, people in the recovery field, people who are struggling, they get to see these podcasts and get some hope going on with them. Like, dang, get some cats out there that are vibing with me right about now. Maybe I'll order. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll order. That's all I want to hear. Maybe I'll order. I'll take it from there.
Well, we'll get this podcast out there, help us circulate it. And if anybody is watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you can keep them coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You angels, both of you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too. And I'll see you soon. We're going to close out the program, but we'll see you again soon.
Very good. Thank you.
I look forward to it. Bye.
Bye, Evelyn.
Take care, Troy.
All right.
Wow. That was powerful. Evelyn said something on it at the end that I actually live with when I tell my family members this, or even my friends. If you win, I win.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, you know, when I used to, she said something else, I laughed at myself, that I'm a lover of, like she's a lover of life. I used to put that in my social media description. I'm a lover of life. So, you know, she spoke to the things that I also believe in. So if anyone is listening to this, just remember that there are people in your life that they just want you to win. And if you win, they win, you know, and that's all I want.
Just very inspirational. And it's true. You know, when people you care about and love it. And just as somebody in long-term recovery, you know, we often hear when we're early in recovery that you'll have a chance to give back. And they are giving back tenfold. You know, they're loving people until they can love themselves. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm just blown away by their dedication and what keeps that hope alive.
So for everyone who's listening or watching, this is the solution. Nothing changes if we change nothing. I just whatever. You know what I mean. I just had a puberty thing. Please just change. Forever, yeah, absolutely. Nothing changes if we change nothing. This is the solution. Love you guys.
See you next time.